Okay, on problem number 8 of the practice test, it says answer the following questions about inverse functions. Part A says, are the functions f of x equals 3x minus 4 over 5 and the function g of x equals 5x plus 4 over 3 inverses of each other? Well, the way to know if they are is to composite them together and see if we get x. Let's do f of g of x. In other words, we're going to substitute this function right here in for the x right here. So it'll be 3 times this mess of stuff, then minus 4 over 5, minus 4 over 5. Well, when we simplify this, the 3's cancel out, and we get 5x plus 4 minus 4 over 5. 4 minus 4 is 0, so we just get 5x over 5, and 5's cancel out, so we just get x. Now we got to see if we get the same thing if we do g of f of x. Well, g of f of x means put this function right here in for the x, so it'll be 5 times this quantity plus 4 over 3. And that's what we have right there. The 5's cancel out, so we get 3x minus 4 plus 4 over 3. Minus 4 plus 4 is 0, so we just get 3x over 3, and 3x over 3 is x. So since they both equal x, f and g are inverses of each other. Part B says, if f of x equals 2x minus 3 over 7, what is f inverse of x? Well, to get an inverse function, let me scroll up here. To get an inverse function, first write the equation in with y equals instead of f of x equals. Then replace every y with an x and every x with a y to get x equals 2y minus 3 over 7. Now solve this for y. Cross multiply and we get 7x equals 2y minus 3. Add the 3 to both sides and we get 7x plus 3, I should say here, 7x plus 3 equals 2y. Then next step would be to divide, that's what this arrow means, next step, divide both sides by 2 and we get 7x plus 3 over 2 is equal to y, and that will be my inverse function, so it's just labeled f inverse of x equals 7x plus 3 over 2. You could always check this with a couple numbers to see if this is the correct inverse function. Like, for example, if I put 0 in for x here, I get negative 3/7. And if I put negative 3/7 in here, the 7ths would cross out, and I just get negative 3 plus 3 is 0 over 2, which is 0. So it brings you back to what you started off with. Let's go ahead and go to 8c. It says if f of x equals 2x plus 7 minus 3, what is f inverse of x? Well, here's the solution. First write it with y, and then next switch the y with the x and the x with a y. Right, everywhere there's a y, put an x, and everywhere there's an x, put a y. And we would have x equals 2y over 7 minus 3. Now solve this for y. Add 3 to both sides, and you get x plus 3 equals 2y over 7. Multiply by 7, you get 7 times the quantity x plus 3 equals 2y. Then divide through by 2, and you'll get y equals this stuff over 2. So that would be my inverse function then at that point. So my inverse function is, and I think I got a little mistake here, I need to put parentheses around some stuff, parentheses 2x plus 3. And let's double check this real quick. Again, we switch the x's and the y's to get x equals 2y over 7 minus 3. We added the 3 to get x plus 3 equals 2y over 7. Multiply by 7 to get 7 times x plus 3 equals 2y. Then divide by 2. There's the problem right there. That shouldn't be there. Then divide by 2, and it's just 7 times x plus 3 over 2. There we go. So that we had the extra 2 in there that we didn't need. So that's your inverse function. Okay, 8d says if f of x equals this with this square root in here, what is f inverse? And for what values of x does f of x have an inverse? Well, write it with y. Then switch the x's and the y's, which I just did. Now I need to solve this for y. So I would subtract 5 to get x minus 5 equals 3 times this quantity. Divide through by 3 to isolate the square root, and I get x minus 5 over 3 equals the square root of y minus 2. And to get rid of a square root, square both sides. So I'll square the x minus 5 over 3. I'll just put that quantity squared equals y minus 2, that square root. When I square it, the square cancels out the square root, and I just get y minus 2. Now, what you need to do at this point is add 2 to both sides, and I get this quantity plus 2 equals y. So this would be my inverse function. Now, the question asks for what values f of x has an inverse for what values. Well, f of x right here only has an inverse for values of x greater than or equal to 2, because if you put in 2 in here, you get 0, which is fine to take the square root of 0. But if you put in values less than 2, let's say 1, for example, 1 minus 2 is -1, and the square root of -1 is an imaginary number. So it only has inverses for values of x that are greater than or equal to 2. 8e says if f of x equals this, what is f inverse, and is f inverse a function? Well, what we're going to do here is write it with y. Then I replaced every y with an x and an x with a y to get this, and now I need to solve it for y. So I subtracted 5 from both sides to get x minus 5 equals 3 times y minus 8 squared. Divide through by 3 then, I get x minus 5 over 3 equals y minus 8 squared. Now to get rid of the square, take the square root of both sides. So the square root of y minus 8 squared, well, the square root of something squared does not really give you what's inside here. It gives you the absolute value of what's inside here. So I get the absolute value of y minus 8 equals x minus 5 over 3, square root of x minus 5 over 3. Now, an absolute value equation gives you two equations, the plus or minus. So I get y minus 8 equals plus or minus the square root of x minus 5 over 3. So just add the 8. And to tell you the truth, that 8 should not be within that square root. So let me do this. Plus 8 on the outside. There we go. And now that would be my inverse. Okay, but this is not a function, because what this is anytime you have plus or minus the square root, you have a sideways parabola. And a sideways parabola is not a function because a vertical line goes through that graph in more than one point. So this is the inverse, but it's really not an inverse function. So it's an inverse relation, you could say. And finally, f of 2 equals 3. What does f inverse of 3 equal? Well, inverse functions switch the x's and y's. So the f inverse of 3 would give me the x value of 2. And that's it with the practice test.